Good morning to those in the West and good afternoon to those on the East Coast, and welcome here to this presentation by the Managing Director of Tesoro Resources, Mr. Zeph Reeves. And as we were just discussing before we opened up, he's looking forward to building a mine in Chile. So I'm going to hand over here to Zeph to talk about the latest results and what they mean, and we'll have time for some questions at the end. Over to you, Zeph.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks everybody for joining this morning. This will be a fairly short and sharp update, but I guess the main thing I want to discuss this morning is the amount of drilling that's been done, obviously since the maiden resource was announced back in July, with multiple successful drill hits within the Tesoro deposit, which has expanded that deposit substantially, and not only expanded it, but actually really improved the quality of that deposit through intersecting high-grade gold zones and also in the shallow parts of the deposit. So what I will do is I'll just throw up a model of some of that drilling, software that we use called Leapfrog, so hopefully everybody can see that. So what you can see on the screen there now is the outline or the pit shell that was used in the maiden resource estimate, which is that green pit shell. And then all the pink and red dots on that view are drill hits since the resource was announced back in July. So you can see the amount of successful drilling. So anything that's the small red dots are above 0.5 gram, the pink dots are above 2 grams, and the big discs are above 5 grams. So you can see there's a lot of gold that's been hit in our drilling, and the scale of that area, just where the majority of those drill hits there, that's 876 metres, that line I've just drawn. This deposit's up to 760 metres wide. So that gives you an idea of the scale that we're dealing with and the amount of gold that we've been hitting. So some of those recent results that we're quite encouraged by that are really going to add to this have been shallow drill hits up in the top parts of the deposit. So I'll just show an example of those. So this is a section through the deposit now. Again, showing those all the gold hits since we announced the resource. And some of those shallow results that we've recently announced are up in the top parts of the deposit here, with that entire gold zone now connecting all the way through to the bottom. And again, to give you a sense of scale, from top to bottom, you're looking at 300 metres, pretty well continuously mineralised from surface to 300 metres. And that view is approximately is 430 metres wide. So you can really get a good sense of the scale of the mineralisation. But the thing that we're really encouraged by is all of this shallow mineralisation, which actually sits in the existing pit shell. So what that's doing is converting what was previously waste in the maiden resource to now ore zones in the new resource, which we're currently working on. We hope to have that completed in the not too distant future. So we're really encouraged by what we're seeing. We're obviously still drilling, still announcing very good results, and this deposit at Tesoro is really shaping up to be a good, robust deposit, and it's behaving very well. The more drilling that we do, the more gold we're finding within it, and we're upgrading a lot of the smaller ore zones that were reported in that maiden resource to now some quite big, chunky ore zones. So just before I finish, I'll just put this back into 3D to give you a feel for a lot of the drilling that's been done. So you can see that there's been a lot of drill hits outside of that pit shell also. So we expect some of these ore zones to increase with depth. Tesoro East out here to the east, which was never included in that maiden resource either, and a lot of new ore out in that western part of the deposit, particularly up in the shallow depths, which will really help with stripping ratios and so on. So very encouraging to date. Obviously, a lot of gold in this system, a lot of gold sitting in that pit, and we're looking forward to getting our next resource update out when we're ready to go, which won't be too long. So that's the short and sharp update from Tesoro. Thanks everybody for joining us this morning, and if anyone's got any questions, happy to take a few now.
Thanks, Zeph. Turner now has east and west zones to it, so that pit shell that you're showing there could be extended longitudinally. What sort of comparable existing mines in Australia in size of, in terms of scale, could shareholders look at to compare with?
Probably the one straight off the top of my head would probably be Karlawinda, which is Capricorn Metals. Would probably be the closest, I guess, in terms of scale and grade and the type of thing that they're doing. You know, it's an unusual ore body, Tenera, because a lot of the gold ore bodies in the Eastern Goldfields are quite planar and, you know, long sheets. This is multiple zones in a massive ore body, if you like, over a very wide distance, over a significant strike as well. And, you know, to re-emphasise, this is open in all directions, still open at depth, open north, open south, and obviously we're seeing new ore zones getting developed on both sides of it as well, east and west.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Often the pit shell will be designed around a zone or an ore body lens. This seems to have multiple stacked and multiple positioned lenses, if you like, or different zones within it as well, which makes it a bit different.
Yeah, that's right. And look, the more drilling that we've done, the more well-defined each of those zones have become. So there's really three main higher grade zones, and we see those in our drilling results, where we often have those big wide intercepts. But within those wide intercepts, we quite often see a 10 to 30 metre zone of, you know, 5 to 10 grams maybe. And those high grade zones really hang well together. So, you know, from a mining perspective, they're obviously the low hanging fruit. And keeping in mind this is outcropping, so this starts from surface and it makes it a very attractive mining proposition when you can start mining an open pit on, you know, plus 2 gram material.
Zeph, a couple of questions coming through regarding the joint venture court hearing and progress on that. Can you give us an update?
Yeah, I can't say too much on that at this stage, except for what we've already announced in our quarterly, but we're currently working through that process. We don't, as I said, we're fairly comfortable with where we sit, but we'll provide further updates to the market as soon as we're able to.
And a couple of questions which have come through, as we did last time, on the stance of the new Chilean government to mining, both copper and gold. What is the feedback that you're seeing from them on their mining policy?
Yeah, I think it's just important to make a clear distinction between the government and the new government and the constitutional congression, which is debating and proposing some changes to the constitution. And now I think some of the questions that are being asked are around nationalisation of copper mines and so on. That is discussions that are going on in the constitutional congression, and that is more rhetorical discussions, and we would think that would be highly unlikely to get any further than that. In terms of the Chilean government, we expect the status quo to remain pretty much the same. The opposition is the conservative side of politics. They've got control of the Senate at the moment as well. So we don't expect major changes to any of the policies regarding mining in Chile during this term of government. And
to remind some of our shareholders and viewers, given the number and scale of some of the global mining operators in that country, and where mining would sit as an export for the country, it would be absolutely vital to the government to keep a healthy mining industry open to all global exploration and production.
Yeah, that's right. And obviously the Chilean mining industry attracts a massive amount of foreign investment. It's the largest copper producer in the world. And the other important thing to note is that Chile for a long time has had a very stable legal system and a very stable laws regarding mineral rights and mining law and so on. And that's enabled it to become the world's biggest copper producer and develop those mines. And that includes things like free trade agreements and ease of doing business in Chile. So, as I said, we expect this period of government to remain fairly stable and nothing much to change at all.
Zeph, 90-odd thousand metres, 90+,000 metres, I think 95,000 metres of drilling completed, and plenty of data going into the resource upgrade. How many rigs are currently operating and how many more metres do you have planned?
So we've still got 4 rigs on site. So we're just looking at that at the moment to scale that back a little bit once we sort of get to a point where we think we've got enough material ready to go into that upgraded resource, and we'll probably just hold fire for a little while and till we're ready to press the button again on the next round of drilling. But essentially for this year, there's over 100,000 metres of drilling planned for the entire deposit, and that's a combination of RC infill drilling to get material into a measured resource as part of a feasibility study, continued extensional drilling at Tenera, and we're getting quite excited about some of our district targets that we're seeing. So we've got some drilling meters allocated to those also.
Thanks, Zeph. And just one final thing, I just want to get a sense of the scale of this. We're not just looking at this pit shell that you've got here in 3D. This is a district-sized mineralized gold system. It's the scale of this could be something quite extraordinary, and you're uncovering it with every drill hole. Yeah,
that's right. Obviously, we've done some recent district work as well, and we're really sort of stepping that out quite rapidly now. We've got multiple teams on the ground mapping and sampling, and I think the exciting part of this is that the rocks that host Tenera were only known to occur where Tenera is 3 years ago. Now we've extended the currents of those rocks for over 5 kilometres north and 4 kilometres to the northwest, and they're always anomalous in gold. So now it's the explorations team's job to find where that gold is concentrated through the structural setting, to hopefully find repeats of Tenera. And based on some of the recent exploration announcements that we've had, I mean, we've had surface sampling up to over 100 grams per tonne sitting at surface that had never been walked over before. So, we're pretty encouraged by that, and we're optimistic that there's other deposits on our concession holding, which we hope to uncover over the coming 12 months.
Zeph, the results you've got there and the scale of this as it's going, is it stirring up interest? It's a new discovery, it's a big discovery, there are majors all around you. Surely there'd be some discussion and some interest in this because it's really new.
Yeah, there is a lot of interest in it from multiple places. So, and I think what people and other groups are starting to see is that the location of this deposit and the simplicity of it. I mean, the metallurgy is fantastic. There's multiple options for water power and so on. It's on the coast. And the fact that it is a new gold district emerging in Chile for a completely different mineralisation style that's never been looked at before in Chile has certainly piqued the interest of a number of groups.
Terrific. Thank you, Zeph. Thanks everybody for attending, and we look forward to hearing the next update soon.
Thanks everybody.